Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 578. Oh, I said 574 yesterday. Okay. Yes. Okay. It could be 578. I think that actually sounds more accurate to me, I think, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day is Tuesday, February 11th. Yes. And it is, it looks like the sun's struggling a little bit here today at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him. Hey, Mr. Beaver. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Oh, I must also say, it is episode number 67 of the True North Eager Beaver interview project because we have a guest today. Mr. Grizzly, how is your mental health today, sir?
Let's just keep going.
Yeah, didn't sleep again, eh?
No, not really. I did, but I don't feel like I slept a wink. And I went into depth and detail about it last night on the ASMR. So yeah,
Okay.
Holding in,
Right.
hanging on.
Okay, excellent. Well, listen, kids and cubs, we want to get into it because if you've been following the show, then you know our guest because he's a damn fam favorite. So without any further ado, because we're very excited to see him and we want to talk to him, please put your paws up and give a big round of applause for Super Kyle. Fly on in, my friend. Fly on in.
Hey.
How are ya?
What a beautiful day. I got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Okay. How's your mental health today, my friend?
Have water.
My mental health is it's good. But yesterday I was at a political event. So, it's working itself out back to where it should be.
Okay. In the pre-chat, you mentioned that you had spent some time with some politicians.
I did. I went to the city center debate for the Ontario election. And,
okay, excellent.
Some great questions were asked, and then they asked us to line up and ask more questions. Some people had submitted their questions prior to the event. I did not. So I was part of that lineup of people, and right before they had gotten to me, they shut it down. So I didn't get to ask my question, but we both know that that's not going to stop me. So it'll be asked online, and they'll be asked to answer things online, I'm sure.
Well, what was your question?
My question was going to be, are they thinking of replacing the bus lanes on the 417?
Okay.
Because
okay.
those bus lanes were taken away when the OC Transpo buses stop being so prevalent and so necessary for rush hour.
Right.
But at the end of the day, Paratranspo still uses those bus lanes.
Right.
Right.
You know, and for a while they had allowed taxi drivers driving Paratranspo to use those bus lanes.
Right.
And now when they got taken away, now I'm sitting in rush hour traffic, and I mean, hey, okay, sure, no problem.
Right.
I'm driving home, but I'm on a bus. I'm on the.
Yeah.
I'm essentially not being afforded the LRT because I use Paratranspo. And
Right.
you know, like if they want to drop me off at an LRT stop somewhere, and then pick me up at the next one, so I'm not sitting in that traffic, then that's an option. But they haven't made that an option yet. I've been asking that for years, and the only response I've gotten from Paratranspo is, "Oh, people wouldn't like that very much."
Have they asked anybody? No, they just decided that, right? Yeah.
Well, exactly, and this is actually a system I believe that TTC uses, or at least for some people who they have different ratings or whatever system they use,
Right.
and if Metro Links takes over the Ottawa service as they have for TTC, then I'm sure something similar will be offered, and I would love that.
All right.
So tell me something. When so you know the southbound O train line is opened, goes right. You know, takes you all the way to CFS Leitrim past that, and then there's the airport spur. That's fully opened, and that was about a year over schedule. But I believe the east end run to Orleans is supposed to be open by this summer, or am I incorrect? Is it 2026? I thought it was 2025. It was scheduled.
It's scheduled for this year. I'm not holding my breath for it. We'll see what happens. Everything's over schedule, over budget with Ottawa. So
yeah. But if they do get it extended, that should be able to help you a great deal, right? You could take.
Oh my goodness, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, you could take Paratranspo to Place, correct? Or could you take?
I think that they're planning on having one closer to where I live in the Orleans side, like closer to Innes Road.
Right.
So I'm hoping they have one there. We'll see. I know that they might have one near Navan.
Right.
Where that park and ride has just been sitting there forever.
Yeah.
Doing nothing. They actually closed down a road, forced my old so the bus that was my home bus where my parents live at the time, the 125. They took that route away. They made it the 134, and that route went up a road 400 meters away.
So that just makes it easier, right?
The bus used to be 40 meters away, and then it moved to 400, and so that basically took away getting out of the house and trying to go anywhere in the middle of winter, except for this winter. This winter, I was able to get off the bus, no problem, and walk down because snow is nowhere. But you know,
climate change.
Everyone's talking about how horrible global warming is, and I'm like, but there's no snow. This is great. This is fine.
You got Kyle standing outside like with a can of Freon. Shh, come on.
That being said, though, it's been cold enough that the canal and all the outdoor rinks have been open like nonstop. So we haven't had a ton of snow, but it's been cold enough. So it's traditional winter in one way and not in the other. It's
traditional winter in the good way.
Yes. Yeah.
If we get ODRs and skating, and we don't have to deal with snow, this is my dream.
Yeah, no kidding. I
just haven't been to the canal this year. I want to get down.
I was out there on Sunday for about 4 hours, a couple hours actually, I should say. I did 4K. That was all I was capable of. I was walking halfway there. I almost turned around and went home to take a nap.
Okay, well, so exhausted. We'll get you a toboggan. I'll pull you.
Okay, sounds good.
I brought my skates when they came up with James, but James and I just got to talking. So I was like,
okay.
But I have to be back next week, so hopefully I'll be able to get on the canal because I haven't been since pre-COVID.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I miss it because I'm an Ottawa boy, man. I need my
Last year
canal
was the
time.
first year I didn't get out on it, but it was only open for like 3 days, I think, or 4 days, and it was like
Yeah.
200 meters. It was, come on, it was
Yeah.
terrible. So
Yep. All right, my friend. As the Kits and Cubs know, currently in the province of Ontario, there is a provincial election because Premier Porky Pig or Yankee Doodle Dougie, make it trend, hashtag Yankee Doodle Dougie, decided that after rallying us all together with a Canada is not for sale hat and saying we must put all priorities second to all banding together to fight the tariffs, he quit Team Canada and then decided to ask for a contract extension, putting himself first. Yay. So, unfortunately for Ontarians, it seemed that Doug Ford was planning to get through this election by saying tariffs, Trump, and not talking one lick about Ontario or Ontarians and what they need. Opposition parties have been trying to steal focus because, let's be honest, when there's an existential threat, it's kind of hard for opposition parties to get any airtime because the existential threat takes up all the room, and the people that actually have direct responsibility for responding to the threat take up all the oxygen. So issues like health, education, accessibility supports, everything like that, all sort of kind of vanish. It's really hard for them to peek through. And still, through all of that, the fact that Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie came out and said that she was going to double ODSP supports, that somehow pierced through. But this is not new.
No.
And she is not the first.
No.
She's not the first, but it pierced through. So what I want to do today, if you will indulge me, is that I have the about 16-minute clip with Bonnie Crombie making the announcement in Q&A, because then we can stop through it if there's something we can comment on along the way. And then I want to go back in time to Ontario Greens Mike Schreiner. Go back 2 years ago to when he was on Power Politics advocating for the same thing. In between that, the NDP also came out and advocated for it. So I think Schreiner came out in March 2002. The NDP came out sometime in 2023. And the Ontario Liberals under Bonnie Crombie, now in all fairness to her, she could not have come out with it before because she was not the leader of the Liberal Party.
Right.
But, as she's building the party together, yes, I guess she could have come out on day one and said it. But I mean, you want some announcements. So, but she has never not, as Liberal leader, supported this, right? But she is also the last one. However, when it comes to the other party, one of these things are not like the others. And we'll have a little clip of so-and-so seeming to forget what the D in ODSP stands for some reason. Mr. Grizzly, is that okay with you?
Yeah, which one do you want to start with, Bonnie Crombie?
Yeah, let's start with Bonnie Crombie. And Super Call, anytime if you got something like stop, call bullshit, or vouch, this is true, like, go ahead, you lead on this.
Yeah, I got something that we can finish it all up with, and Paul and I talked about. So
perfect.
Well, hello, thank you for joining us today. I have a really exciting announcement to make with you all today, but first let me say how delighted I am that our full slate of candidates from the...
I gotta stop for a second. I'm looking in the background and all I got in my head right now is good whole wheat shreddies. and you know whose voice it's in?
Oh no.
It's in Bubbles' voice. I need some of the good whole wheat shreddies. This is my ADHD brain. This is how it works, right?
Oh God, yeah, I've seen it. But that was a you thing, and now it's an us thing. Thank you, Paul, for making it an us thing. This is.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hamilton area are here with me today for this announcement, and that we're here at Neighbor to Neighbor, and we've just had the opportunity to tour this food bank by Charlotte. Thank you very much for the tour. She let me know that 1,700 families are being served, households, which means that about 5,000 people use this food bank. We know that food insecurity is a very important issue with over 1 million people using food banks across the province. I know while I was mayor of the city of Mississauga, I had to help them fundraise over $2 million a year to help them service the people that came through the food bank. So in my view, this election is really about priorities and helping the most vulnerable in our community, like the people who come to the neighbor-to-neighbor food bank. I know with Doug Ford, it's about his rich buddies and friends, people like Elon Musk, since he won't rip up that contract permanently, catering to rich buddies. For us, it's the people in our community who need us, who are the most vulnerable. So I made some commitments, even during my leadership race, that I want to honor today because they're the right thing to do for people in our community who aren't being serviced as they should be. As you well know, our key priority is to provide everyone with a family doctor within the first 4 years. That is our key healthcare related commitment. This announcement will work hand in hand with that one. And we are very pleased today to announce to you all that the Liberal Party of Ontario will double the ODSP for all those across our province who are using it.
I'm just going to interrupt for a second here. She sounds like she's on the verge of tears.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like a somber presentation? I don't, like, the whole time I'm getting like, does she need a tissue? Like, and I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being
The
sincere.
pacing is a little slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if everything's okay. Like, do you need a hug? I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being sincere. Like, this is the vibe I'm getting.
No, it's like they're announcing someone just died or
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we'll continue.
And since I know, thank you. And I think it does speak to a health measure as well. And since I know you will ask, it will be costed and part of the platform when we release it. So we are all here to answer your questions, myself, any of the questions Ontario-wide. If there are specific local questions, we have some fabulous candidates here with us, and they can answer as well. Do we have a lineup at the microphone?
I can start.
Welcome. Thanks for joining. Didn't we just see each other in Ottawa?
I think so. Is this thing on? Oh, it is. Okay.
Or you have to slouch.
Yeah, no, it's my curse and blessing. I'm Charlie of the Trillium. On this promise, Bonnie, I am just wondering if you would do anything to do with the income limits that the PCs did raise but are still in place at $1,000 a month, and if you'll be making any similar promises to do with the Ontario Works payment as well.
So currently, the commitment is to double the amount that people on ODSP will be receiving. With respect to OW, I really feel that money, since it's a supplement to the EI, should come from the federal government and top up the EI.
And I understand that, you know, you're still short some candidates, so I'm just wondering if you can confirm.
Very few.
Well, great. So I'm just wondering if you can confirm that you will have a full slate, if that is the case, and if, you know, given the picture of things and sort of the uphill battle that you guys are fighting and you yourself are fighting in your own riding, if we should expect any sort of, you know, focusing of resources in any specific parts of the provinces from the Liberals.
That's a fully loaded question. So number one, yes, we will have a full slate of candidates where we might even be able to announce that later today. We're just confirming with the last couple of people. In addition, as you well know, we're fully funded. And of course, if there is a newcomer and we needed to move around resources, we have the ability to do that too. Will we be focusing on strategic ridings? We're going to be focusing on them all, because I think all of them are winnable.
can't seem to hear the
Hi,
question here.
I'm Aura
Oh.
Carreño from CBC Hamilton.
Welcome.
I wanted to ask, the NDP have made a promise to remove tolls on Highway 407. Would a liberal government do anything with the highway?
You know, while I believe in investing in public infrastructure and public transit, and I certainly will look at what we will do with the 407 with respect to truck-only lanes, my priority is ensuring that you have access to a family doctor within 4 years, and to reduce the stress and toll on our hospitals. Because look at here in Hamilton, 135,000 people are without a family doctor. In the local hospitals, there is a 20-hour wait time to be seen in a hospital. So this is my key priority to the people of Ontario, to ensure that everyone has access to family health care.
If I may
Thank
stop
you.
there,
And we haven't heard of...
that was a really good pivot.
Yeah.
That was a very, very, very good pivot. That is classic, like, communications coach, no notes.
hmm
That's a good pivot.
No, and it's good that she's not, veering off and just letting the person of the day control whatever it is. I find that we have been in for some time now an era of popular politics for kids, where it's whatever the term du jour is gets the most media attention, gets the politics attention, and while that can be good, at the end of the day, I think it was Mary Black from Scotland. I talked about Wincox and signposts, and we need a signpost. We need someone who finds a direction that we need to go in, points in that direction, and not just someone that is, going whichever way the wind blows.
Right.
And this is an important. I mean, yes, doctors obviously have their importance, and that's going to be something down the line. But when it comes to people who are struggling to pay rent, then that's going to take precedence overall.
Yeah. You have Mr. Jim here going, I just heard her say, I care about people outside the GTA, so I'm going to fix healthcare first.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was unexpected and kind of a surprise.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. She's doing something strategically that way to try and pierce through. And strategically she's hoping, and she's kind of getting her wish in a way, right? That the tariff issue kind of goes away. So it did go away for a little bit because Trump pushed it back to March 4th. And then he came around with the steel tariffs coming. And now those are also March 4th, or we'll find out possibly coming into effect March 12th. So again, it's sort of off the table. So Doug Ford can't do Trump tariffs for another 19 days. So now he's got to talk about these issues, but he's prepared nothing for those issues. Again, the perils of planning your life around Donald Trump, because he's unpredictable, right? Pierre Poilievre did the same thing. That's what we're learning. Danielle Smith did the same thing. They hitched them to his wagon, and then he zigged, and all of a sudden they don't know what to do.
Yeah, I'm going to hold the tariffs. Actually, no, I'm not.
Oh, now there are going to be some steel tariffs, 25%. Oh, well, they'll be March 1st. Oh, March 4th, the same time as the other tariffs that were going to be on everything. So it's nothing new then. Because if the 25% tariffs were going to be across the board, they were going to be on steel and aluminum anyway on March 4th. So you just basically announced what you announced before, but just kept us dancing for a couple of extra days. Like, he literally did nothing. Right? So now tariffs are off the table again until March 4th or March 12th. So again, Doug Ford now has to feel. So Doug Ford was like feeling good for about a day. And then all of a sudden, crap. Because now he's got to talk about healthcare and ODSP and everything else. And all he can talk about are tolls and tunnels.
It's like he keeps forgetting that he's in office.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, like this. And now he has to fill time. So he's making stupid mistakes, like going back to the lazy people because that worked out so well for the first time.
Well, you mean this?
Care of people for a little while on Ontario Works. healthy young people that are sitting on the couch watching the Flintstones. They should be out there. They should be working. There's still 200,000 jobs available here in Ontario. We can't afford that. Everyone should be out there when they have a chance. Apply. Now, if they go through rough times for a little bit, I get that. Not a problem. But there's people that have been on Ontario Works, welfare, healthy people for their whole lives. Well, these hardworking people are paying for them to sit on the couch and watch the Flintstones or the soap operas or whatever they're watching. That has to end, because people behind me and everyone around Ontario is sick and tired of working hard, paying their taxes, and watching people not pay and take from the system. And we've created that climate and the conditions because the previous government chased 300,000 jobs out of our province because of high red tape, regulations, high electricity costs, and high taxes. There's 850,000 more people working today than there was 7 years ago. We're going to continue growing our economy to pay for social services.
So
Okay.
again, notice the typical Doug Ford thing, right? Start to sort of answer, find someone to scapegoat, and then pivot away to something that he can pat himself on the back about. Did it again here.
He's okay. Let's 850,000 more people working than there were 7 years ago. Yeah, there's also like about 1 million and change more people than 2 million more people, I think.
Yeah.
So number one. Number two,
That's
the
not a
200,000. No, it's not. The 200,000 jobs. Okay. Are they full-time jobs that pay livable wages? Because if it's 20 hours a week at minimum wage, that's not something you can function on. If it's not a living wage, it means shit. You're going to go out and kill yourself for what? Next to nothing? You need 40 hours at a livable wage. And minimum wage was not supposed to be the minimum amount you can legally pay someone. It was always meant to be the minimum you need to live on, a livable wage. But somehow that got taken away over the last 50 years. Maybe 45, because in 1980, somebody working full-time on minimum wage could get enough money together to put a down payment on and get a mortgage and qualify for a mortgage because it happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kyle, got anything? I know, eh?
It's funny when it's not funny. It's horrible when I see, and I hear people talking about how they can't get by on minimum wage and they can't get by on even a full-time job at minimum wage is hard to get by on. And then you look at people who are applying to jobs, who are trying to find jobs, who are on ODSP, and they are looking everywhere, going in for their interviews, having managers look at them and go, "Oh, hi," and never getting a call back
immediately.
So people who are putting the work in to get these jobs, to break their backs to be able to get these jobs, to break their minds, whatever it is, and then having the government turn around and go, "Yeah, we're gonna lump you in with welfare, and we're just gonna call it all the same thing because you're also a freeloader," and so it's just, it tells me how the Conservative Party sees people on ODSP.
Character flaw.
And unfortunately, that is something that a lot of people have no power of changing. There's people who will never get off of ODSP. I personally have spent, I guess I still spend most of my life now on ODSP, or my adult life. But I spent a good chunk of it not, and it felt good. I was able to put food on the table, my own food on my own table. Now on ODSP, I can barely pay my TV, and people say, "Oh, that's a luxury."
Really?
In today's day and age, if I got rid of my TV, I'd be saving, I think, $20 because I'd still have to pay for my
Mm-hmm.
internet, and you need internet in
Yes.
today's day and age, and you need a cell phone. And it's not like I have an extravagant whatever, and I have a 25% off from having worked at Rogers for 5 months.
So you're getting a discount on top of it. Yeah, it's
So I'm getting a discount on top of the ODSP rate that I pay, and I'm only like it's. I don't know how they expect people to be able to afford any of
They
this
don't.
stuff on any of this, and the fact that some people are using this as a political move. This should be done quietly under the table, away from prying eyes, whatever. Hey guys, we're going to raise ODSP. We've decided as a government, we're all going to unilaterally raise ODSP, regardless of who gets voted in. Not if you vote for my party,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Right.
Well, I mean, ultimately, what we need is a
but
UBI.
we have, but we have one party that's not doing that.
Yes,
Right. Three agree.
3 agree,
3 agree.
and one punches down.
And one punches down, calls people lazy.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
thing about this Doug Ford character being out of touch, just a little anecdotal thing. I mean, these are trivial, but I'm petty. The last time I remember sitting at home watching the Flintstones is when I was in kindergarten at lunch.
Well, I mean, I used to watch it at lunchtime when I was in high school, but
Yeah.
that's we'd go over to my friend's place in my last year of high school. We'd go over to my friend's place, watch the Flintstones, and eat lunch, and then go back.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing, kindergarten. And
Doug's living in a time warp.
as for soap operas, there are 3 surviving daytime soap operas on TV.
Oh,
The
really?
Young and the Restless, The Bold and the Beautiful, and General Hospital. All the others are gone. Apparently, there's going to be CBS is developing the first black daytime soap opera in 35 years right now.
Oh, wow.
But so there are 3 soap operas on TV, and Flintstones hasn't been lunch hour daytime viewing in a few decades.
Yeah. So it
Way to
just
go,
shows you
Doug.
how out of touch with reality Doug is.
But that's the image, right? I don't know how old Doug Ford is. Let me
He's
check
only
that.
about
'cause
2 years older than me.
Yeah, he's 60. Okay,
Yeah, 3. So
that
6 years older.
that was that was the stereotypical description of that whole welfare bum thing stereotype. That
Mhm.
was it in that era. Sitting at home, watching the Flintstones, eating bonbons while you're watching your soaps,
Yeah.
popping out kids. That's
Yep.
He hasn't evolved since then.
Yep.
He hasn't
Well-
evolved since then.
You remember back then he was a hash dealer. And they can't sue me for that. That's been reported on in the Globe and Mail and the Toronto Star.
Oh, and by the way, that thing by Doug, that's also the guy who spent 30 of the last 36 to 37 weeks not in the legislature.
Yeah. Who's sitting on their duff again? Oh, no, he's on the phone 24/7. No, the phone is the
Like
name
a-
of his skidoo.
And the guy who decided to call an election campaign early after investing only about 2 or 3 weeks in an image change as Captain Canada that he ditched to run in an election campaign where all he prepared for was Trump, 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 terrorist, terrorist, terrorist. But other people are lazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every accusation is a confession.
Absolutely.
Every single freaking one. All right. So you have Bronny Crombie. We have Doug Ford. Now let's go back to the original. The Mike Schreiner Power and Politics thing. So this is an 8-minute interview.
I got a question period.
Yeah, I think.
Hang on. Just a second.
Yeah, question period is the first one. You could do question period if you like. He's sparring with Merrily Fullerton. Actually, let's do that since we were talking about Doug Ford and the Conservatives. And let's flash back to 2 years ago and see how the Conservatives thought about this by looking at how, thankfully, no longer MP, and God knows how, a Dr. Merrily Fullerton.
Mm.
was
Morning,
tackling
Speaker.
this.
My question is for the Premier. People living on the Ontario Disability Support Program live well below the poverty line. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in the province is over $1,000. The average rent for an apartment in Toronto is over $1,800, yet the basic needs and shelter allowance for ODSP is just $1,169, an amount that has not kept up with the rising levels of inflation or has not been increased since the planned 3% increase was cut in half in 2018. People with disabilities are hurting, Speaker, and it's not right. So, Speaker, will the Premier double the rates for ODSP in the spring budget?
To reply, the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services.
Speaker, and thank you very much to the member opposite for the question. To be clear, our government raised ODSP and OW rates when we took office. Knowing the challenges posed by the pandemic, we invested more than $1 billion in social services relief and expanded access to temporary emergency assistance for those in financial crises. OW and ODSP clients continue to have access to the government's discretionary benefit program to assist with exceptional expenses. These investments back up our transformation of social assistance to build a more responsive, person-centred, effective and efficient system that will get people back to work and help the province recover from the COVID-19 crisis.
Supplementary.
Speaker, let's be clear. According to the Financial Accountability Officer, the government underspent on social services by $1.2 billion. People on ODSP are forced to live on $1,100. You ask anywhere in Ontario where you can survive on that kind of money. That's exactly why over 50% of the people on social assistance, surveys show, go days without eating. Speaker, this is the province of Ontario. People on social assistance can't afford rent, they can't afford food, and we can do better because we are better, Speaker. So I ask the government, through you, Speaker, will they increase ODSP rates above the low-income cutoff line in the spring budget?
Minister of Children, Community and Social Services.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you once again to the member opposite for that important question. To be clear and to clarify the issue with the underfunding, as you term it, I say that this is an application-based program. It requires people to apply. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a lot of people using resources from the federal government, and the applications did not come in the same amount. But to be clear, MCCSS's budget saw an increase in the third quarter to over $18.1 billion as a result of $9 million increase as part of the COVID-19 response fall preparedness plan. And our government spends $8.3 billion roughly annually on our programs for ODSP. And in addition to that, we have a micro-credential strategy that I'm working with the Ministry of Labour and Training and Skills Development, as well as the mental health aspect with the Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, as well as working with the Minister of Education for the $1 billion to build thousands of new...
Okay, Kyle, do you have some thoughts on these answers that she gave back then?
So, first of all, Paul shared something that someone said on here. I used to receive something like $7 something a month. I'm glad I'm on ODSP. Imagine you need a bottle of water. And this is for everyone that's not on ODSP. Imagine you need a bottle of water. The bottle of water is $1. The government gives you 75 cents. You still can't get your bottle of water. But on the other program, you were receiving 50 cents. So, I have a really hard time with being grateful for this program when it's still not sufficient. It's still not. It's not even. It is half of the poverty line. The poverty line, I think, is $30,000 or somewhere around there. ODSP is at maximum 15, and that is with all the bells and whistles, all of the doctor's forms filled out that say, you know, you need this food thing and that medical thing, all of it. I think so. The average person receives a third of the poverty line, and there's no accountability, no compassion. Yeah. Every single person in the provincial office has no idea what it's like to be on ODSP. They have no idea what it's like to have to survive on a fraction of the living expenses. And you know, we were talking about people who work part-time or people who work full-time, you know, barely being able to get by. If I had that much money, I'd be rolling in it. You know, compared to what, you know, what we get now.
Right.
Yeah, and like when I was working for Amazon, I was making $19 an hour. This was like 2 years ago, or yeah, this is 2 years ago. Making $19 an hour before I found out that they were just never going to raise my wage. They were going to leave me there, and they were never going to give me a promotion based on managers. So I left. And but that is the reality of people who live on ODSP. If you get a job, you are expected to be grateful for your job. You are expected to, you know, just sit there, be quiet, not do, you know, anything past the lowest job or whatever, and never aspire to anything. There's the words I'm looking for.
Keep you down.
And at the end of the day, this is a program for people who struggle to get into work, struggle to get out of bed in the morning. Like my alarm went off for today's show. And by my alarm, I mean your text. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, is it really that time? And okay, fine, given one of us did admit to being at the pump. We actually only shared one picture, you know, so it wasn't a crazy night. Anything great. It wasn't a crazy night. And this is my buddy Paul, who when we go out, we go out. So, you know, it wasn't anything crazy. But at the end of the day, my body, when I woke up, it just went, I'm sore, I'm stiff. It just, everything felt messy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, that is my regular.
Well, and let's, I don't know if you want to talk about your health issues, because you've had one or two in your lifetime, eh? One or two,
you know. I can give everyone the full quick rundown really quick. I was born with something called spina bifida. There's 3 different kinds. I have what quote unquote the worst kind. Basically, my spine, the bones never finished forming. So I'm paralyzed. That ended. That is the end of the story. Whatever, it didn't really affect me for a long time. I was able to walk in crutches and braces for years. Walking never really held that really high command for me. But I had that until I was 18, give or take. I also at birth, I was diagnosed with something called hydrocephalus, which in Latin literally translates to water on the brain. I have too much, which is why I have a giant head, and I'm like 5 feet tall. Hey, aren't you happy I took the glasses off so you can see my head?
But do you see your head?
I did that. Not with the glasses off. And then
where'd they put it?
At 7 years old, 6 years old, I was diagnosed with Arnold-Chiari malformation, which basically is part of the brain being pulled down into my neck because of the spina bifida and the cord and whole stuff. Anyways, that was fixed on my 7th birthday with the surgery, or at least stayed.
Right.
Not fixed, but stayed. And then at 27 years old, I was diagnosed with this thing called primary progressive multiple sclerosis. And that's where everything changed. At 18 years old, I stopped walking. We didn't know why. We just put it off to the side, figured, hey, I'm just moving on with my life from walking, whatever. It became more difficult for me, but nothing else did. There was no other changes to my life. Since then, I've crowd surfed like 4,000 times. Whole thing, never really thought of it. Actually, no. Between there and there, I only crowd surfed like 4 times. Geez. It's since the MS diagnosis that I have. But with all of that, I ended up basically having a sunburn feeling at one point, and that was just my nerves firing all at the same time on my back. Middle of winter, I didn't realize what was going on. Went to the doctor. Doctors did a whole bunch of tests. It ended up with the MS, and I had I went into the doctor. They said there's nothing we can do to stop it, but we can slow it down. And so now I'm on medication to slow it down. That's the long story long. At the end of my day, I see all of the things that all of the places that I could work in this city that either have one step up, or all of the places that would not work with me using a wheelchair, but could if things were changed. And or all the places that I could shop that I could shop at during COVID because they came outside and served you, or they served you in a different way.
Right.
And then when COVID went away and we went back to our regularly scheduled service, there was no entering shops for me. There was no any of this. And so those are the issues that I faced looking for a job and trying to find all of this stuff is, what can I do to first of all, ignore the pain that I live with every single day. I live with a baseline level 3 in pain. You know, and that's just what that is. That's fine. You know, I'm 35 years old. I'm getting older. It's fine. It's okay. But I'm young. I'm, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I know I'm not old. I make the joke, but I know. And I see all of the opportunities that the city doesn't seem to care about, province doesn't seem to care about. And when it came to transit yesterday and them cutting me off right before I got to my question, which would have been a 2-minute, a 1-minute question because I can get it down. Why did you take away the bus lanes on the 417? Not a big question. And can we put them back? And that affects paratransport users who would benefit from not having the stop and go of a taxi.
Right.
And the pain that they live with there. So at the end of the day, people who use these programs are expected to be grateful.
Yeah, which is bullshit. It's bullshit.
It's absolutely. And I am so heartbroken the fact that I don't know who commented that the 740 whatever that you used to make and now you're making ODSP. That is the worst. That is the worst increase ever. I wish. I hope one day you can pay for your water bottle. You know, because this is. I'm lucky that I live in an area where my food bank is 400 meters away. I can get there, and if it's snowing, I can email them and they will deliver it.
Well, it's the thing that troubles me is so many folks, politicians, municipal and federal and provincial, fail to realize that people with disabilities still can live whole, full lives. They seem to think you should just sit at home and watch the Flintstones, according to Doug Ford, and never go out, never have time with friends, never go to a pub, never go to a concert, never go to an art gallery or a museum or a show, or just meet friends for coffee because, oh, well, you're disabled. You just want to sit at home and do nothing. It's like, no, fuck. That frustrates me beyond belief, because what they fail to realize is that, okay, it's a little bit more difficult for you to get around, but it doesn't make you any less of a person. You have the same thoughts, feelings, wants, needs, and desires as every single one of us.
Aspirations, dreams.
And that's what.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I hate that word.
I know.
And I think I've told both of you guys this, and maybe I've said it on the show, but I'll say it again. I'll say it forever. Disabled, you see it every day. You see it. You see disabled computer, disabled system, disabled tank in the army, disabled athlete. He's on the disabled list. And in those contests, it's appropriate because that person is no longer doing the thing that they were meant to do. When someone like me, for example, is living their life as they always have, and you look at them and you say, you are disabled, but I am the same able that I was 5 minutes ago, then that makes zero sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And that seems like the mindset of these politicians is these people are disabled. How do we make them abled? Or sorry, I guess we just have to wait for them to be abled again. And instead of, this is this person's life, this is how they live, let's create a world where they are going to be able to thrive and survive.
Yep.
And that is what I've been dealing with since I was 16 years old, trying to find my first job. Thankfully, I have an amazing mom who got me my first job. But at the end of the day, people are struggling. And
I remember during the mental health walk when we were going down Bank Street, you pointed something out to me, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, you said, okay, I'm in a chair. I'd like to go into that store. There's a step to get up into that store. He goes, how do you think that affects my mental health? I want to go in there because there's something I need to purchase, but I have to figure out how to do it or struggle to get up. Like, why isn't there mandated that there should be a ramp to get into that store? And I'm like, I couldn't agree more, number one. And number two, my worldview, if you will, changed a few years ago. And just give me a little leeway on this for a moment, if you can. Walking to client sites downtown Ottawa, I have a double stack tool bag, like a trolley suitcase, but it's not 4 wheels, it's 2, so I have to lean it. So it's quite heavy. Trying to manipulate that on site. Now, remember me, I'm physically fit. I'm 6 foot tall, about 180 pounds. I'm in good shape, and I'm carrying this. I'm wheeling this along. And it's flipping over off all the time because the sidewalks are so full of cracks and crevices and uneven. And then there's places where, how do I get from here to there? Shit, I got to lower this over a curb. Now, for me, it would be easy enough to just go, screw it, I'll just, want to. But if you're somebody who is using a wheelchair, suddenly that becomes possibly dangerous. Because what if you can't get over that curb, and when in attempting to do so, you flip and fall, and now you're face down in the pavement.
Or you roll backwards into traffic.
All right. So it was like literally me just wheeling a tool bag around downtown Ottawa, going from site to site. Not only that, you get into some buildings and go, there's no ramp here. I got to take everything apart. I got to take 3 bags and one at a time up the stairs and reload it. And now I'm physically exhausted and I have to go install something or repair something. And I'm like, this is something that I can just put a stop to at any given time. You don't have that choice. So that's where I see things like this and go, we need to use DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. And the equity part of it is making it equal for everybody so that you can get into that store, you can get into that shop, that business, that office, that gym, wherever. The city, when it comes to city facilities, they're pretty good at it. They're not great, but they're pretty good. But the public sector, or the private sector, I should say, needs to do a lot more. Now, I know there are rules in place where if you don't have a ramp, you have to have an elevator. But they don't always get enforced. New construction, yes. Yes, if it's a new build, they're pretty strict about that. But if it's an older building, they just let it go. And what I've noticed is south of our border, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the Americans have done a better job at this. The what is it? The ADA,
American with Disabilities Act.
Yes.
Yep.
They enforce that with an iron fist. They do not joke around about that. I've worked with Americans who are like, we can't do that because the ADA stipulates. And he goes, and we're not bending on this. I'm like, good, nice, nor should you. And thank you for pointing that out to me. Because I was consulting with a project in the US. And he's like, no, with the ADA underway, we have to do, and we need this much clearance and blah, blah. And he went on, and I went, okay, no, perfect. We'll figure it out. They are deadly serious about that. Whereas here, in new construction, sure. Why aren't we making older buildings do something to help people? And not only that, not just, again, like I said, not just for people who use wheelchairs, but for people who use walkers, for people like me who are trying to get into the building to help you out, and I have to struggle to do it. Like I said, I was physically exhausted just getting to the damn building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, for me, it could be easy enough if I just hopped in a vehicle and drove there.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that opportunity.
I wonder, can we do the 51st state thing for like 6 months?
Just to get that part fixed?
Just get that part fixed.
But then you get the healthcare bill.
Then we got to pay for it all.
So they give you the sidewalks, but then they slap you with the healthcare bill. Right?
Here's your sidewalk and here's your gun. What?
Yeah.
But then I wonder what the states, because like there's got to be people on state coverage.
Yeah, there probably is. Yeah.
You know, so I wonder what they do for that.
Yeah.
Then.
So
you know,
as you're,
but
go ahead.
No. I'm saying.
Well, since we're talking about the accessibility stuff, we mentioned it very briefly on the show when it happened, but I'd like to go back to it because it was on January 2nd, right after the New Year. There was a plan to have an accessible Ontario by 2025.
Yeah, it's 2025, and it is.
So this is by Vanessa Balintic of CBC. On a spring day in 2005, Ontario's Legislative Assembly was filled with applause. In a rare moment of unanimity in politics, legislators celebrated their vote to make the province accessible to people with disabilities by 2025. The Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act was created to help people with disabilities fully participate in society, bring them to the table in crafting regulations, and build mechanisms to enforce standards. Advocates and experts hailed the legislation as groundbreaking and progressive. That's how David Lepofsky remembers it. Lepofsky, who was blind, worked for years with other advocates to make the legislation a reality. But 18 years later, he says the province is nowhere near its goal. Quote, "We've been warning about it for years," said Lepofsky, the chair of the AODA Alliance, the main consumer advocacy group monitoring the legislation's implementation. He says his group has been actively trying to meet with the progressive conservative government on the file, to no avail. Gee, maybe that's why they don't have an ODSP announcement. Quote, "Government after government, minister after minister makes nice speeches and then does nothing. Yeah. Advocates and people with disabilities say the slow pace of current and previous Ontario governments in implementing the AODA has hindered the bill from reaching its full potential, leaving roughly 2.9 million Ontarians wanting. The conditions range anywhere from physical to developmental to mental health and mobility and are often invisible to others. They're concerned not only that the province will miss its deadline, but there won't be any way to make government answer for the potential failure, and they worry there will be no renewed push to keep accessibility issues at the forefront after 2025. Anthony Frizina, the spokesperson for advocacy group Ontario Disability Coalition, says the lack of prioritization of the file is putting people with disabilities at risk. Quote, "We're more vigorously keeping track of it. We want to hold people accountable," he said. Frizina has spina bifida, a condition that occurs when the spine and the spinal cord don't form properly, and uses a wheelchair. Quote, "I find that people with disabilities, the perception is like we're asking for so much and then we're coming off as complainers. And that's an attitude barrier that needs to change." According to the legislation, the AODA aims to develop, implement, and enforce standards related to goods, services, accommodations, employment, and buildings before January 1st, 2025. The legislation applies to every person in both the public and private sector. The Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility told CBC Toronto Minister Raymond Cho was unavailable for the interview on this series, of course. Asked if it's confident it will achieve accessibility by 2025, the ministry's Director of Communications, Wallace Pidgeon, said in an email the province is, quote, making investments across the province and working to achieve, meet, and exceed the standards set out in the AODA. It's the law, he added. Yes, but I remember reporting then, and maybe this will be later in the article, but when people were asking about enforcement, they said something like, well, we prefer giving people opportunities to learn or something. But it's the law. Every 3 years.
So
okay, go ahead. Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll say
Okay.
it after.
Every 3 years, the government must appoint someone to review its progress on the law's implementation and recommend any improvements. There have been 4 reviews since the AODA was enacted. Charles Beer, the first reviewer whose report was released in 2010, said his review aimed to smooth out the legislation. Quote, with subsequent reviews, there was a constant around how can the government better lead on this and bring it into the greater public, said Beer, also a former Liberal MPP and minister. The 2 more recent reviews released in 2014 and 2019 have concluded the status quo is not working. Both said that while organizations by and large support the legislation and its goals, the province has failed not only to prioritize the file, but provide meaningful guidance on its implementation and enforcement. Advocates note there's been progress, but say it's failed to transform the everyday experiences of people with disabilities. Lepofsky says there have been improvements in some public spaces, but not all, pointing, for example, to a newly built bike lanes in Toronto that pose problems for blind people. Besides, he says, the legislation is only so strong. It only applies to public spaces and not buildings, leaving many older ones almost entirely unnavigable, as Mr. Grizzly was pointing out. He points to inconsistent reliability and accessibility features and services of the province's transit systems and vague customer service standards that make equitable customer service available only on a case-by-case basis. He also points to the employment standard being too reliant on accommodations rather than removing barriers, and to an information and communication standard that, while mandating a minimum level of accessibility when sharing info on web-based apps, falls short on regulating mobile-based apps. The poor implementation of accessibility standards are made worse by, quote, paltry enforcement of the law, he added. Quote, they've enacted some accessibility standards, but the one they've enacted are far too narrow, far too weak, and don't address the vast majority of barriers we face, said Lepofsky. A 4th review containing advice on how to get Ontario back on track towards achieving accessibility was handed to the province by appointee Rich Donovan in June and was publicly released last month. Donovan called its quiet and delayed release by the province, quote, disappointing but not surprising, and the latest example of its sluggish pace on the file. Quote, that to me tells me everything you need to know, said Donovan. The government has responded to the report, saying it started to work on at least 3 of its 23 recommendations, but absent was any mention of Donovan's most pressing one, the creation of a new crisis committee chaired by the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, to initiate and streamline a slew of recommendations on things like public safety, a broader AODA action plan, and a new agency dedicated to accessibility. All of those aims, he said, are within government reach and could bring it closer to closing the accessibility gap if it wants to. Quote, I do believe most of this can be done by 2025 if the right levers and buttons were pushed, if senior bureaucrats were told to get this done, said Donovan. So there you go. And Kits and Cubs, I am going to put a link to the report itself here in the chat function for you if you want to take a look at it.
I just have one question for you, Mr. Douglas, after all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go buy a cake?
Pardon?
Do you want to go with me to go buy a cake?
Cake?
Do I want to go with you to go buy a cake? Yeah.
So
okay.
All of the downtown shops are
Yeah.
accessible.
Yep.
Right? They have the choice to be able to change their font. Mm-hmm. They have the choice to be able to make something accessible, to offer accessibility, to put a button out front saying we'll bring you a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
We'll create that accessibility. Because in downtown Ottawa, it is more important to not create access in case a person who is blind or has sight impairments may or may not trip on a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
A person who encounters barriers all the time and has to be able to navigate those anyways, we're going to stop putting ramps out in case that person trips. But these places have that option. These places also have the option to turn down clients.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just spelling it out for everybody. Just making sure. But these places have the opportunity to turn down clients they do not want to serve.
Mhm.
I guess based on certain things or ways to get around it. And I would like to see this change. I would like to see all of it change. I would like to see us be able to go and buy cake one day. We're gonna go downtown buy a cake.
Okay.
Just for the hell of it.
That'll be tricky because we'll have to be able to get it in the store, and then the store has to have one that's gluten-free that I can eat.
There you go.
So I'm gonna post a picture on the screen. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen here.
And that gluten-free cake has to be yummy.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going to put a photo on the screen here that I want everybody to look at for a minute.
We might be eating
see if you
sardines.
see if you remember the photo from a few years ago. Do you remember when?
Oh my God!
Remember when it was memed? They memed the hell out of this, right? It's like, oh yeah, only in America, an escalator to get into a gym. And I went, yeah, that's ridiculous. And then a friend of mine said, Paul, you know I can barely walk, right? I go, yeah. He goes, I still go to the gym to work out. Those stairs are a bloody nightmare, but that escalator is a lifesaver. And I went, yeah, I'm an idiot. We all made fun of this at a time when it first came out.
I'm also there's like
showed me there's a reason for that.
Why bother put the stairs? Just make an extra wide escalator.
Why not? Why bother putting the escalators? Why not just put an elevator?
Agreed.
As well.
Agreed.
That would be easiest.
Yeah. But when he pointed that out to me, I went, oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the gym I work out at,
So,
I haven't been to in a while, but the gym I work out at is the Jack Purcell Community Center, City of Ottawa. Completely accessible. They have accessible machines. They have workout machines for people who use wheelchairs. Specific.
Where? What?
This is a Jack Purcell Community Center.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right across the street from me. So I go to the gym.
You mean like where I was yesterday? It was like right there.
Yeah.
I could have used it. Okay. So wait a minute. They have it in the gym?
There's a weight room. There's a gym. There's a weight room.
Okay. So you've used that community center. Let's talk about that gymnasium for a minute. So you're coming in the front door. You turn.
Yeah,
you go
to
the
the
gym.
right. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead. Can you describe for everyone at home what that gym is like getting in there?
Honestly, I haven't been in the gym in 20 years, so I don't remember.
Let me. Okay. So from
now the gym is part of the school though. That's separate from the community center. The community center has access to the gym, but that's part of Elgin Street Public School.
Okay. Then it might be a different part, but because there was a place called the gymnasium, so that might be a different part. But in the gymnasium, it was you go from the main level, you turn, you go towards the gymnasium, and there's stairs to get up to that floor of the gymnasium.
Yeah, I don't.
There's no ramp.
Nothing.
There's no nothing.
And it's surprising because in a school they should change that out. You know, I mean, it's a school. It's a public school.
Yeah, my favorite is when there's places like that. That the answer is always, well, there's no one that would use it that uses a wheelchair.
What if you find yourself suddenly using a wheelchair all of a sudden, right? That's just a stupid thing to say. That's ignorant.
Yeah.
I don't think it's malicious.
What if someone takes
just
over?
Ignorance, right?
You know what? At some point, that's got it.
Right.
Agreed.
It's 2025, man.
I have come across so many people who I'll be out with my family one day, and someone will say something extremely ignorant, something just appalling, and I'll have to bite my tongue. My family will see it in my face. They'll look at me and they'll go, Kyle, don't say anything. They just don't know what they're talking about. But that's not okay anymore. That's just not okay. It is not okay to be in this day and age saying something that is just so blatantly rude and expect people to not reply with something that's going to put you in your place. it needs to stop. It needed to stop 10 years ago. It needed to stop with the invention of the internet and all of the websites that we have access to for information that the internet was created for. You know, if we stop going on, don't stop watching this, but we stopped, going on the internet and watching our Kim Kardashians and our whatevers, and actually took in the information that's available online about the world, we'd know all this stuff. We'd have access to the different ways that people are forced to live and in different things that happen. And you'd be able to see my Instagram page where I literally go on and I post all of the crazy things that I do using my wheelchair. And I wouldn't have to be on my way to an event, on my way to a concert where I'm going to start a mosh pit, crowd surf. I threw my birthday party with bands that are really good, and have someone look at me and go, "I'm really sorry."
Why?
Because I use a wheelchair. Because
you
that
don't
is
want pity.
because a wheelchair is their model of a horrible life, and that is what continues to be perpetuated. I live in an apartment building. I am the only person who doesn't use the button, the automatic door opening button. I'm the only one.
Irony of ironies, right?
Yeah. And so but there's a wheelchair, a little half man, half wheelchair. I don't know if it's a Minotaur wheelchairs. I don't know what that is. But that is the world we live in, where people see a wheelchair, they don't see the person, and they just, oh, I'm so sorry for the life you live.
I think some of the stigma pushed on to wheelchair users, and I say pushed on because you don't have the stigma. It's people would put it on you. And I think some of that dissipated to a certain degree during the Man in Motion World Tour by Rick Hansen, because, it definitely changed people's perspective.
Yeah.
Not enough, unfortunately, but it did. It did help to make people realize, hey, wait a minute, this man just went around the world in a wheelchair.
Yep. He went up to Great Wall of China.
Like, maybe we can just re-examine how we do things. Now, I do have to ask you, because I was supposed to go to your birthday back in November. But I was sick as a dog, so I didn't want to show up and get everybody else sick.
I appreciate that.
Well, Rainbow Bistro, and of course we'll talk about what took place that night. But
oh yes,
that is not an easy place for you to get into, sir. And admittedly, if anybody watching or listening has ever been to the Rainbow Bistro, you know that it's not easy to get into if you don't use a wheelchair. Yep. It's a very steep staircase.
Yep.
You walk in the door, there's a meter landing, and then it's almost straight up to get up there.
Yep.
And I know they'd like to be able to put in like maybe a squirrel lift or something like that, but the business kind of shut down for a bit, and then they reopened, and it's
struggling, and a lot. So side note, a lot of the venues, a lot of the music venues in Ottawa are struggling. It's just how it is. They're not making a whole ton of money.
Well, Cafe de Cuff just shut down.
Yep.
Yeah, it was horrible to see Warren get out of the job. And that's the thing. These are places that some people, they just go, they experience the thing, they experience the life, and then they leave. But they're run by human beings. They're run by people with names, with families, with whole lives. Anyways, as for the Rainbow, I picked the Rainbow specifically because it had so many stairs, and I wanted the night to be about people who continue to lift me up. And if you've seen my social media, you've seen me post, thank you for continuing to lift me up. And I'm going to get emotional.
That's fine. We're allowed to do that. It's good to be in touch with their feelings.
Sometimes, right? I ended up getting to the venue. Buddy drove me, and I ended up going to the front door, and there was a lineup of people. And not because it was my birthday. This happens every show I go to. There was a lineup of people ready to lift me up. And it's unfortunate that this continues to have to happen because there's no funding for these lifts to be put in. So imagine if I was heavier. I weigh about 140, give or take, depending on what I've eaten that day, and how good the duck was. But I weigh about 140, and my wheelchair is a titanium wheelchair. It's very light. It's not a whole bunch, so maybe all in I'm 155. And when I work out, it maybe 170 if I'm lucky. But someone who uses a power wheelchair doesn't have that luxury.
Because those things are really heavy.
That's it. There's a lady who frequents some of the shows, and she's able to walk a little bit. She usually walks up the stairs to the venue and then has someone help her carry her chair up. And then meanwhile there's me, who wants to lift me up. Can you tell whose ego's a little bit bigger? But when I said I was throwing it at the Rainbow, she messaged me and she said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it to your birthday." And I asked her why, and she says, "Because it's not accessible." And I sent her a picture of me going, "Hi, it's me. Are you kidding?" And so she wasn't coming. She ended up coming because I convinced her. I went, "Are you kidding me? Well, there's like 4,000 people that can get you in at the same time as me if you want." I ended up inviting a friend of mine who I've known since I was 4. Her name's Jess. And she, I said, "Please come. I'll comp your ticket." She paid for her own ticket though. I said, "But please just come. I have a big idea. I need your help." She shows up. I look at her and I say, "We're crowd surfing tonight." And the Rainbow does not promote the crowd surfing.
It's a small area too for
they really don't want you to do that. But they understood for the night, if you will. And I've done it a couple of times there, and they, so long as you go up once and you're not making a habit of it, they're pretty good. But at the end of the day, that night was about creating access, and the events that I want to put on are about promoting the bars that we go to, and the access that could be. The access that could be for so many people, whether it's the patrons, whether it's people who want to work there. I would love to be able to leave my apartment, go downtown, go to the bar and work my job. I'm already, you already see me at like 1,000 shows a year. So I'm already there. Why not just work at a bar and then do my promotion on the side for everywhere else?
Well, why not? Yeah, I mean, like, seriously.
Yep.
I would love to be able to do that. Unfortunately, a lot of these places aren't accessible. And, the worst part is the washroom.
Oh, God, yeah.
The worst part is, "Hey, Kyle, do you want a beer?"
Nope, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm not going to be able to use the washroom until 2:00 tomorrow, when I get home. And
that's one great thing about the pump. They've got lots of really big accessible toilets in the back.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah. If I could throw some of my metal concerts at the pump, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know if they
It's the Irish metal.
Hey, I will bring Dropkick Murphys. Let's go.
Oh shit, yeah.
Break out the fiddle and let's go wild. It's funny, not funny, but what you mentioned that too, because us in the gay community, we had the same thing. There was a bar called CP on Somerset. It doesn't exist anymore, but it's the same thing. It was like this old, that's right, but it's like this old sort of like 3-story sort of house back then, and like downstairs there was sort of like a piano lounge, and then there was like a main bar with a pool realm on the main floor, and then all the way upstairs was like the dance floor and the bar in that area, and then there was a further upstairs from that. And all of it was stairs, right? The only elevator was a dumbwaiter back, and then when it was a restaurant to get stuff from the kitchen downstairs all the way up. And one of the community organizations treasurer used a wheelchair, and he's been the treasurer of this organization now for 15 years, 16 years. And once a month there was a bar night that they would host there to raise money for their organization. And every single time, you know, there'd be somebody there, the chair like this, and he would actually go up, like get out of the chair, like lift himself out of the chair, turn around back onto the back of a step, and then like with his hands hop the steps going backwards all the way up, and then someone would carry the chair up. But it was once a month, every month, probably for a decade and a half.
Wow.
Now, like the group, the organization, though, you know, they'd go out to all other places and whatnot like this, and there was, you know, the group itself had made, you know, changed in all the ways that needed to be changed for this person to feel totally, completely included. But still, when they went out, you know, it's like, what do you do when the one place that allows you to have the bar night to raise the funds for your organization, so you have to negotiate that deal with a whole other bar, and then you'd have to find one, right? And it's like, and how many gay bars are there in the city? In Ottawa?
Yeah.
In the late 80s, early 90s, right? Back in the days when all the gay bars had all the windows blacked out so nobody could see inside.
So so nobody knew who was there.
Nobody knew who was in there when we still had to hide.
Wow.
Right?
Centertown Pub and the Coral Reef Club.
Coral Reef, then there was the Bee, which was upstairs, like up like a metal fire escape. The Coral Reef was like in a parking garage, and then you had to go, like everything was downstairs, upstairs, in the basement, had windows blacked out. Like if you were gay and using a wheelchair,
forget it. Yeah.
You might as well be celibate. I mean, it was just right. You couldn't get into any of the spaces because that factor, you know, that we were always hiding. Like this, you know, what the buildings that would rent out to a place for a gay bar didn't want to announce it was a gay bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So sometimes the only thing you knew was
if you use a wheelchair,
but
if you use a wheelchair, you're not romantically involved anyways, right?
Yeah. That's the other thought, right?
Yeah.
That's the other side. Yeah. Come on.
Okay.
Side note, I told the girl I liked her the other day, and she said yes.
I understand. Oh, I understand. It's 2025. People, people have sex lives.
Yeah.
So one of the there's a bar, and if the person's watching right now, I'm sorry, I forget what it's the Lookout.
Yes.
The Lookout.
The Lookout. That's
okay. So
again upstairs.
Yeah, but they have an elevator.
Yes, they do.
They have an elevator. So a friend of mine said, "Come with me. I want to like show you around because they have other events there and whatever." Blah blah. And she was. You've seen my life. You've seen everything and whatever, and how much I subscribe to. I use a wheelchair. This person said, "Come with me. There's lots of people in the disability community that come to this bar, and you know that they participate in the nights here, blah blah whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll go with you. I got a couple hours. We can go do whatever." Cool. Meanwhile, I talked to like 4 people that use wheelchairs, but like very occasionally. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against people that use wheelchairs. Okay.
Oh.
No.
Whatever comes next is gonna make you cringe.
Listen. No, I just there's lots of people who they have their situation and they let it consume them. And it breaks my heart to see. And if you know me, it's never been something I've been allowed to do. I was never allowed any of that as a child, you know, and I wouldn't want it. I'm 35. I wouldn't want to go back and have that. But at the end of the day, there's people, oh, my back is hurting today. And I'm like, okay, I have Advil. And, whatever. I've gone to a concert. My back was hurting. My whatever was hurting. And, this, that. I went to that concert. I left there feeling like $1 million. Guess what? My back was still killing me.
Right.
But you go out, you get your blood flowing, you have your good time with your friends, your endorphins, your dopamine, and whatever, blah blah. And that is what drives me. So I go to the Lookout, and they show me around, and the person there is cool, and they're telling me about the payment plans for different events and whatever, that sort of thing, and whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, this elevator is a new thing for this building. It's not like, someone looked at it and said, oh, we're not going to be able to do anything about this. They said, we see this problem. We want to be able to have these people in this community be able to join us. What can we do about it? And they put in an elevator. They spoke to the landlord, whoever they had to. They dealt with it. Why is it so hard for places to be able to get this done? Why does this need so much? And why can't we have access through other buildings? What's the 24-hour diner?
Elgin Street Diner or Dunn's?
Dunn's. Dunn's. There's upstairs. Upstairs has a show. Is it live? Live on Elgin.
Yes, live on Elgin. Yes.
Yeah, that's above Zach's.
Yeah.
I've performed there a few times.
So, Zach's. Thank you, Zach's. So above Zach's is live on Elgin. And Zach's, why can't we have an elevator in Zach's, and then I can take the elevator up to live instead of someone having to carry, or someone totally missing out because their chair isn't able to be carried because it's 4,000 pounds. I'm sure we will come to a point where wheelchairs don't weigh that much, or they don't have to anymore, because there are new innovations.
We're not there yet, though. But we will get there. We will get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But in the meantime, right now, this
people
year,
are being excluded.
2025, people are being excluded. Let's change it now. Let's change it for the accessible Ontario that we wanted to create. Because at the end of the day, people are being left out of social situations. Mental health is being affected. We started this show, you asking me how my mental health was. My mental health is fine because I was able to get from my apartment to that place that I decided I was going to last minute yesterday on OC Transpo. Paratranspo wasn't about to afford me the opportunity to get a last minute bus or get there on time, for that matter. I was either going to get there like super early or super late. I got there right when I meant to. Thank you very much, my Gandalf. And I was able to sit there and enjoy the meeting. Okay, enjoy the meeting is a strong term.
That's very polite. That's very polite.
Yeah, but these are the things that aren't afforded to a lot of people, and that's the Jack Purcell Community Center. That's a community center that was created to be able to house as many people as it possibly could, which is it in itself isn't even fully accessible. But they were able to put an elevator in. Good for them.
Yeah.
And then I was able to walk to the pump. And all of these things that a lot of people don't have the luxury of doing. And
the pump's accessible.
We still and the pump is wonderful. My God. No, I walked up and seemingly the host, the manager, is already pulling out my chair. I'm like, okay. I don't know if you remember me, or if this matters, if this is just the treatment, but this is awesome. You know, I'm like, am I getting the Paul treatment today? Is that what's happening?
Just mention my name. Mention my
But,
name. They'll give you a good seat.
Yeah.
Double joke in there. Double joke in there.
Oh, bring your own. Come on.
BYOS.
No lawn chairs beyond this point at Loose Fest. And I'm like, oh, it's way back there. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm up in the air.
Do you want to share with everybody what happened during your birthday though at the Rainbow Bistro?
Oh.
Wait,
The thing?
Yeah. Oh, God. The thing. So I had 4 bands. One came from out of town. It was their first show. New guys, wonderful band. They had half an hour set. Played great. Second band, they played, and this band has a singer who growls and sings like an angel. He's all over the place. He's great. Third band comes on, and I don't know if any of our listeners, and please comment if you do, and don't comment the lyrics. If you remember the song by Bloodhound Gang called
The Good Touch, the Bad Touch.
Bad Touch, yeah.
Bad Touch. Also known as Discovery Channel. But if you remember that song, they do a version of this song. And I first heard it when I was 9 or 10 years old. Perfect time to hear it, right?
Yeah.
And then you discover what the lyrics mean about 5 years later.
Yep. Why did my parents let me sing that? Why did they videotape me singing that and send it to everybody like it was cute?
My buddy burnt the CD, like he Napstered the CD, like it was LimeWire, Napster, whatever it was at the time. Like this was a bootleg CD that I definitely did not have access to. I did not illegally have access to music.
Not at all. No, none of us did.
Did not happen. Nope. So I've known this song for 25 years, and there I am asking him, please. I don't care if you play any other song. You can come on and play one song for the night. I don't care. This song has to be played. Me throwing my own birthday concert, whatever. I had a couple of friends help me promote it. My mom shows up, and everyone's offering to buy me beers. I got in there a little early. Everyone's offering to buy me beers. I'm like, no, I'm not.
No,
tight. I'm gonna crowd.
That toilet is difficult to get to for me. And not only that, it's so tiny.
Here's the problem. I ended up having my first beer handed to me by my mom. I love you, Mom. It was wonderful. It was a good time. And then my second beer was handed to me by my friend Laura.
Our friend Laura.
And then my third beer was handed to me by my mom. Laura's good.
Oh, yeah,
Laura's
she's a good friend, too. Brilliant photographer.
Laura, you hear this? If you're watching, you hear this. You hear this. Don't stop. And if you do stop, just maybe come to my events.
There you
go. She already knows she's going to be in the budget anyways. But at the end of the day, they played the song. My friend Jess, who I had begged to come crowd surf the show, and we got the best picture. And it was a good time. And that right after I'd crowd surfed, they put me down, and I was fine. I'm fine. Okay. No, that doesn't happen until now. And I'm looking around, and people are like sort of, bobbing and whatever. And I'm like, no, this is a good song. I'm starting a mosh pit. So there I walk up to a buddy of mine. I push him, and he comes over and pushes me back. Anyways, pit starts. Pit's good. My rule in the pit is you push my shoulders. You push my upper body. Don't push my chair.
No.
Right.
Please don't push my chair. Someone push my chair. And I say I have this rule I can only say I have this rule because enough people know who I am at this point for me to be able to do this. Someone pushed my chair. I guess they either just didn't realize they were doing it or didn't know who I was. They pushed my chair into someone's foot. I wheelbarrowed out of my chair, did not break my leg. I go to get back in my chair, and again, I've had a couple libations. I turn, I feel my knee pop. I'm like, oh no, my knee pops all the time. You know, I was popping back into place, whatever. My ACL sort of deteriorated. I don't use it, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Feel like sticking around. Whatever. Go to get back in my chair. Don't realize anything's wrong. My leg feels kind of loose. Whatever. I sing with the headlining band, Beyond Driven. The lead singer wrote a song called No Such Thing as Can't.
Oh, yeah.
She wrote a song called No Such Thing as Can't because she was going through her own time. And I messaged, she was posting that she was having a bad time on Facebook, and I messaged her. I said, what's going on? And we just hit it off since then. You know, she was looking for answers for a medical thing that she was going through. And I was, me not even realizing where she lives. She lives in Quebec. I was like, no problem. I've got contacts for you. I can get you in for an MRI real quick. Whatever you need, let me know. And then I found out where she lived.
Yeah. Okay.
So it didn't
That
really
changes.
work out. Yeah. Is your health card transferable? But
should be.
It should.
It really
we
should
have Canadian health.
Like in the
We
UK,
really
it's
should.
called the National Health Service.
Just take it away from the provinces. They're not doing a good job anyway.
Clearly.
No.
And I'll bet you, if somebody tabled legislation to say healthcare is going to be a federal matter, it's no longer provincial, I think most Canadians would support that. Maybe some people in Alberta would get fazed by it, but I think most Canadians would support it because they know how terribly it's done at the provincial level.
What is up with Alberta and Quebec? What is?
Although Quebec's been the most patriotic province in the country under this new thing.
Lately, that's been.
You know how bad you got to
that's
piss
been
off
cool
Quebecers to say they're proud Canadians.
Yeah.
And I lived in Quebec for many years.
So I go on stage, I sing with the headlining band, we sing our song, and close out the night. Everyone leaves. I settle up with the bar. They say they're going to transfer me this much from the sales. Great, awesome. A couple of buddies carry me back down, and they go off on their way. Now I am wearing a Sens jersey and a t-shirt. It is -3.
Warm out that night.
It's not warm and it's windy. So I'm like, you know what? -3 is not bad. And I sort of looked at it, but I did not look at the wind chill. So there I am at the bar, the bar next door, trying to like get into a sheltered area. They're closing down. It's like 1:30 in the morning. They're closing down because, hi, welcome to Ottawa. We close bars at 1:30.
One last call's at 2 on a Friday night.
This is
Saturday,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Saturday, yeah. I'm sitting there. So like, some of the best stories I have, because I sort of made friends with some of the owners. I've shut down the bar, and then we realized that it was like I was able to take the next bus.
Yeah, that's early.
I was able to get on the next bus.
Yeah,
and go home. That's how late I stayed. Anyways, so security walks up, and I'm like, "Hey, man, like, can I just?" And like, "Oh, sorry, man, we're closing down." One of the security guards sees me freezing and goes, "Here, bud, take my jacket. I'm just gonna like be in there and shutting stuff down, whatever." Cool, thank you so much. 2 o'clock rolls around. Paratranspo. Not Paratranspo. The taxi service that I had to book the morning before. So that morning I had to call taxi and say, I need a bus at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever it is. So I told them, so they should have been ready. They didn't show up until 2:30. Yeah. And there I am going. And they only showed up at 2:30 because I called them just after 2 and I said, "Hey, where's my taxi?" They said, "Sorry, sir, it's still a ways away." Fine. If you send me a regular taxi, I can teach them how to pull my chair apart if he's up for that. That's what I had to do.
I'll be right back.
And that is what I continue to have to do. Yeah. So imagine if I used the power chair, I'd still be there waiting.
Yep.
Wouldn't have had that luxury. So I just get in the I get in the car, I go home, pour myself in bed, wake up the next morning, go to transfer out of my chair, sit on the edge of my bed, and there's my femur. Yeah. And check your comments now, bud. Let me see if I can comment. What comments do we have? I haven't looked.
I think
yet.
it'll take a couple of seconds for them to register, but
yeah, here we go. Saucy's gonna say something, I swear. But I can't really see it very well. Yeah, so I sort of do the quick shower thing where you wash the important stuff and change my clothes. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna show up to the hospital, but I'm not gonna show up disheveled.
Right.
I'm gonna show up semi-okay. And I still had hair gel in my hair from the night before, so it still looked okay. You know, I fixed it up, and I looked better than this. I didn't put gel in last night. I get halfway to the hospital. I get a text. Hey, honey, where are you? It's Mom. Who I leave Find Your Friends on, just in case I have that one bender night. Can't find myself.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, honey, where are you? You know, on a bus. Where are you headed? The hospital. What happened? Might have broke my leg. Okay, coffee? So she grabs Timmy's on the way to the hospital. He grabs me some breakfast. We get there around the same time, and I had just signed, like, done triage, and then came back and she was there and whatever, and get to the room, and the guy who fitted me for a splint thought it was the coolest story. I'm sitting there and I'm going, this one's actually pretty okay. Because the last time I broke my leg was at a Danzig concert, and it wasn't a good story. It was pretty bad. Whatever. Yeah, but this time it was a mosh pit that I started, and I was still sober enough to sing. So I mean, hey, you know, it worked out.
Like the comments
But
here,
my
there.
goodness,
Oh dear, that's not good. Ouch, your
that is
femur.
extremely
Yeah.
What in utter hell caused
Yes.
the femur
So
issue? I'm not sure if you're supposed to party until your femurs break. That's really partying hard. Your poor mother must have the
what do you
patience of
mean,
a
Saucy?
saint.
You're not supposed to party to your. I thought that was when the party started, when your
Yeah,
femur
that's
broke.
yeah.
Come on. Oh yeah, my mom is the best. There we okay. Oh, you know what? If I move this over a little bit, I can see some. Okay. Yes. Yes. Danzig, not a good concert. Veil of Maya was better, actually. I saw them that night. Much better.
Did you know Glenn Danzig recorded a song with Johnny Cash? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Actually, I think he wrote it
I'm
for
not
Johnny
shocked.
Cash. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
And Johnny
Okay.
Cash loved it and recorded it.
All right.
Okay. Anyways, yeah.
So
So that happened. Fitted me for a splint, and now I have a splint sitting in my bathroom that's probably hopefully, cross my fingers, never gonna get any more use.
now we're closing in on the 2 hours, so there's one more little clip I wanted to show you and get your thing, and we'll skip the Mike Schreiner on power and politics from 2 years ago. Go to the one below it. If you see it, I don't think it's highlighted in blue. It might just be in the regular text.
Recently?
Something weird.
There's
Yeah,
a
the
power and
recently.
politics, so recently. Okay.
Yeah, Mom is used to me doing crazy stuff by now, Linda.
Okay,
You're right.
Here we go.
Now I'm found these comments. Sorry, everybody.
We all like Mike.
I like all you too, so thank you. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming out today. The crisis of poverty in Ontario is getting worse and worse each and every year. Right now in this province, over 81,000 people are experiencing homelessness. That's a 25% increase just in the last 2 years. Food bank use is at an all-time high, a 78% increase just in the last 2 years. Poverty costs this province over $33 billion a year, and it has tragic consequences for the lives of people being forced to live in legislated poverty. Doug Ford is not only failing to fix this problem, he is making it worse by forcing people with disabilities to live in crushing legislated poverty. And let's be clear, the math simply does not add up. A person on Ontario Disability Support Payments is being forced to live on $1,368 per month. Somebody on Ontario Works is even less, $731 a month. Imagine that, when average market rent in this province is $1,600 a month alone. And in cities like Toronto and Kitchener and Guelph, it's even much higher. It simply doesn't add up. We are forcing people with disabilities to choose between eating and putting a roof over their head. Last night, I returned a call from somebody who had reached out to me. He is a person with disabilities. His wife has disability as well. Neither one can work. Both are on ODSP. They are barely hanging on to their apartment, which he told me is infested with bugs and rats. He is facing a landlord-tenant board hearing in just a few days. And he's saying to me, Mike, it's hard enough that all my money goes to rent, and then my wife and I have to go to a food bank to eat, and then half the time the bugs in our apartment infest the food that we get at the food bank, and we can't even eat that. And now I'm on the verge of facing homelessness. He's like, what am I supposed to do? And I said to him, the Ontario Greens are going to fight to ensure that you have life with dignity. We are going to point out the fact that we have a crisis in caring in this province when the Ford government forces people to live in legislated poverty, forcing people with disabilities to make the impossible choice between eating and having a roof over their head. I know the people of Ontario care about their most vulnerable neighbors more than this. I know we as a province are better than this. And that's exactly why the Ontario Greens are putting forward a plan to end legislated poverty in this province. First, starting with immediately doubling ODSP and OW rates to get rid of legislated poverty in this province. Second, we will end the clawbacks for people with disabilities. It is wrong that somebody is penalized for living with somebody who they love and have their disability benefits clawed back. And we are going to fight like heck to ensure that when the Canadian Disability Support payments come in, that the province doesn't claw back ODSP because of that.
Yes.
Third, we are going to fix the housing crisis with a commitment to build 310,000 co-op, nonprofit housing, including 60,000 permanent supportive housing spaces with wraparound mental health, addictions, employment, and other supports. Here's the, yeah, please. So we can end homelessness in this province. Something that is so important that people of Ontario need to understand. 93% of the deeply affordable homes built in Ontario were built before 1995. That's when the federal and provincial government stopped financially supporting co-op, nonprofit, supportive, and social housing. 30 years of different governments failing to build homes that people can afford has brought us to this breaking point. And so we will end that. And I'm asking the people of Ontario to show our most vulnerable neighbors how much you care. Because I know we want to have a caring province. I know we want to build caring communities. And we want to ensure that people with disabilities live lives of dignity. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm happy to take any questions. Great. Okay, thanks everyone. And I appreciate all of you showing how much you care about our neighbors by being here today. Thank you.
I really like Mike Schreiner. I really do. I said that in the last election. He was the only one during the debates who actually addressed issues and stayed on point and talked about the issues at play, whereas Dean
Del Duca.
Del Duca,
Steve
I wanted
Del
to say
Duca.
Del Mastro, and I knew that was incorrect. Yeah, Stephen Del Duca and Andrea Horvath. Well, Andrea Horvath just picked on Del Duca when he was only recently put into that position. He wasn't in government. Didn't say anything negative to Ford, which I'm like, is this woman a wolf in sheep's clothing? And as those of you who live in Hamilton will know, yes, that's exactly what she is, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Mike Schreiner walks the walk and talks the talk.
Did you have any thoughts about that, Kyle?
Well, I hope all 4 of the Green elected people in the next election can survive. I like ideas. Ideas are nice things. Everyone's now throwing the ODSP stuff out there. Maybe that means something. Maybe maybe it means that things will change. Right now, after watching ODSP be used for basically the entire time I've used it as just the extra padding on someone's political chase. Here's my problem is the Liberals right before Wynne was kicked out. She was like, you know what? If you reelect me, I'll give you another whatever, blah blah blah. And then Doug Ford came in and gave that, which very nice, whatever. It was nice that it came earlier on in his tenure. That was
right.
But at the end of the day, they're not focused on that right now. He's focused on this whole
tariff,
Trump thing and whatever, which again is going to affect people 100%. I'm not saying don't focus on it, but focus on the most vulnerable. Focus on the people who wake up every single morning looking at their lives, asking for things to change, wanting to do what they can to make things better, trying to just talk to anybody they can to make those changes, and realizing that what they have to say isn't going to be able to make anything happen. And at the end of when it comes to what these politicians are doing, it is horrible to see them continue to use this as their play, and I'm disappointed. Simply put, I am disappointed. I am waiting for someone to take this on and go, okay, we see the issue. I'm waiting for all the parties to take it on. We see your issue. This is what it takes. ODSP is, $15,000. The poverty line's 30. we'll give you that.
Yeah.
We'll give you 30. Or we'll give you 40. We'll give you 40 for God's sake. And then we'll give people on Ontario Works closer to 30.
Well, I got to give
You
you,
know.
because I'm looking for work right now, and I'm going through the job listings, and I see some of them on the Canada Job Bank. And I've seen positions that advertised, and I shit you not. Salary, $35,000. I went, what? And then they show the qualifications listed. I'm like, okay, you guys are high. Somebody's been smoking crack. They want a minimum master's degree, and they want to pay you $35,000 a year.
If I have a master's, I'm not getting out of bed for less than 50.
I mean, like, even that's not even enough. Like, look, the minimum, the middle class cutoff. I don't know what it is currently, but a few years ago in downtown Ottawa, in my neighborhood, the middle class cutoff was $87,000.
Yep.
So they're offering 35. I saw one that offered 50, and I went, "You guys are high. You guys are high. This is not acceptable. These are not living wages."
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "We don't want people to be a ward of the state." Well, then pay me enough money to fucking survive on, so that I can save money, I can invest money, I can put money in at RRSPs and a TFSA, so that when I have to draw CPP, OAS, and GIS, I will still have enough money in my RRSPs to support me until, you have to put me in the ground. No. Corporate profits make higher.
Yeah. I just want to answer playing with 3D right now, because they if you can pop that up. Elaine, yeah. They are two different things. RGI generally subsidized housing. How do I put this properly? Subsidized housing is will give you money based on this, and then but you live here. RGI is you can live where you are.
Right.
Like, I was offered to stay where I am. Here's this money, blah blah blah, whatever. But there's like filing your income, blah blah blah, whatever, all the time, that sort of thing. So, I don't know what the specific differences are, but those are the generals.
Okay. Based on what you were saying there, Mr. Grizzly, I have this thing here from it says that middle class in Canada, it's not the medium line, but from what I can guess here, it ranges from 53,359 to 106,717. It's calculated as if you earn between 75% to 200% of the median household income after tax, which is 66,800. So maybe that's the number you're looking for there. But that's the median household income.
It fluctuates depending upon where you live in the country.
Yeah. So if I'm, but this number here, yeah. But this number here, if I remember math class accurately, it's been a long time. Median, I think, is the one like literally right in the middle. If you take all the salaries and like right in the middle, so it would be 66,800 in Canada.
Okay.
Or is that the mean?
Wow.
Now.
No, the mean is all of them added.
All of them added. Yeah. So the medium. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So numbers spreading the higher half. Yeah. So it's literally right in the middle. So that's for all of Canada. Provincially, they would be different, but nationwide. So yeah, if you're not making 66,800 after taxes.
Well, let me just
that's
put
after
a little.
Tax number.
Let me put a little thing on the screen right now. So I'm gonna this is the building I live in. It was built in 1959, and it's currently owned by a big company. They bought it back in the summer, and they're doing renos, and they're turning 1 bedrooms into 2 bedrooms, bachelors into 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms into 3 bedrooms. And you need to have money to live here. If you look at the rents on the screen right now, a one bedroom, $1,950. A 2-bedroom, $2,599. 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom Plan B, $2,175. A 3-bedroom, which used to be a 2-bedroom, by the way. If you look at this floor plan here, this bedroom right here, that's living dining, that was built. That's added on. So, yeah, that, yeah. So tell me how, if say I had a wife and 2 children, or a wife and a child, and I needed an office space to work from home, because I have friends who live in this building who have a couple of kids who live in the 2 bedrooms. They don't pay anywhere near $3,000 a month, but tell me how. $36,000 plus? Do the math. I mean,
No, way too much.
And you tell me, and you want to offer me a job for $35,000? Well, even the 1-bedrooms are almost $2,000. That's $24,000. 1975.
That was my after-tax take-home when I worked for Amazon.
So, like, I'm sorry, how do people afford this? We are living in a new feudal system where 70% of your income goes towards your housing costs. Because, like I said, there's 4 rental companies in this city that own something like 80% of the rental stock or something to that. I don't know the exact numbers. I'll find it. I'll dig it up and I'll find it. We need to end corporations buying up rental properties because they are literally profit motivated to the nth degree that the shareholders need to get a bigger return each quarter, and people cannot afford to fucking live. There's a big problem in this country right now. And it's not Justin Trudeau's fault, by the way. This is provincial and municipal that needs to be dealt with. So if the federal hammer has to come down and say, all right, screw this shit, you get no more money from the federal government until you lower and make things affordable, which we know isn't going to happen no matter who's in power.
Yep. Can we also talk about the AODA real quick?
Yeah.
When they're building new places, there was a mandate on the level of accessibility that each apartment has to have. And it's basically the ground level floors have to be accessible. A couple of the ground level floors have to be accessible. Why not make every unit? Because at the end of the day, people have friends, and they want to go to their friend's house. So, I had to throw that in one more time, because if you're going to your city hall or whatever, and they're talking about putting in a new thing, if you happen to be going to one of those, please keep that in mind. Because at the end of the day, I have friends who I want to go to their house. I want to go wherever.
Not easy.
And my buddy lives in old Minto homes. They're now under a different company. But they used to be Minto homes, and they aren't accessible, and so why not, when those places are being rebuilt and refurbished, let's make them all, let's give my niece the ability to have her uncle over, or her grandparents or whatever, I just see it continuing to happen, and it's a bad circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's before we go, there was one thing that you were mentioning earlier that hit me. I had made a note of it, but the conversation got away when you said that you were looking for work. Because it's the same thing as going out and buying cake. Because not only do you have to find work that will employ you, that will give you possibility of advancement as well, that will see you as a person, whatnot, but then it also has to happen to be in a place or a building or organized in such a way that you can actually get there.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
So you got that extra layer, right? Because looking for work is the hardest work anybody could ever have.
And
then when it's like, and we all can't work everywhere because just skill sets and whatnot, right? Or knowledge, we don't have it. So already all the workplaces are not accessible to us just by virtue of what we know, what we have in our head.
We can do anything we want to. Okay, the Toronto Maple Leafs. No, but you know what? We have to fight that, and then we also have to fight the fact that there's there's human beings who again will look at me and they will go, no.
Mhm.
They will go, my company is not having
That will be the extent of the thought
Which is
into it
why
too. It'll be reflexive. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have run into that, and I mean, obviously they can't do that, but you can see it in someone's face. You can hear it in their inflection. You can hear it.
All the things that are not words.
I've gone to places where someone went, oh, hi, more times than I
Yep.
care to count.
I've had a couple of job interviews that way too, and it's like, oh, I know I'm not getting this one.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's like, what can I change about me to help better suit you? You know, people. There was a big push for a while about hair color, and people who have different hair colors and different hairstyles being able to get jobs and being turned down for whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I'll do that. I'll change my hair if you need.
Mhm.
But there's no changing my hair. There's no changing a simple thing.
Yeah.
And being able to go and get that job.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm easily employable. Apparently I don't know enough French to work at the city, so I gotta fix that. That is at 2025. I'm going to try and fix this.
On peut pratiquer.
But yeah, exactly.
I'm saying we could practice. I'm just saying. I'm happy to be your practice buddy.
No, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I picked up what you were putting down. It was just yeah. No, and I'm in the local rock scene, and the local music scene is very
Yes.
But we bring a lot of people from foreign places, and by foreign places I mean
not got no hull.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but like we bring a lot of imports. So I mean, you know, they all speak French, and they'd all be happy to. They're all happy to teach me. It's just how do I put this nicely? I'm not allowed to say any of those words in a workplace.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So,
Yes. You need to pass a broom through the street when you learn a couple of French words.
Big time.
Yes. So yeah, no. My point though is that finding work is the hardest job everyone will ever have, because not all jobs are accessible to us just by virtue of what we have in our heads. And then if you add an accessibility issue, and then you add a stigma issue, and then on top of that, you have the premier of the province standing in front of a podium insinuating with all of that, you know, being the load you need to carry just to find work, that you might also be lazy. Maybe that's your real problem. It's a character thing. I'm just
I understand being on a hard time and needing to use Ontario Works for a while, but Ontario Works isn't a way of life. Ontario Works isn't something that you would need all the time.
I know.
ODSP is. And the fact that they have now, I mean, if they need to put them together to you know, create one less manager or whatever, that's fine. But the fact that they continue to bring both of these things up in the same breath breaks my heart. You know, people who are on ODSP aren't choosing to be on ODSP, and if they are, I mean, come on.
And it's not like it's easy to get on.
But
no,
it
is not.
It is not.
So I mean, it's like you made a choice. No, I had to work to get on this. You know how hard it is. Trust me, if you knew how hard it is, you would know it's not a choice.
Well, it's like I said time and time again, about 10 years ago, I was completely out of work after work had gone from 60, 70, 80 hours a week down to 20 to 10 to after 3 weeks of 20 hours, 1 week of 10, and then there was no work. There was nothing. So, you know, over that time when you're sure you've been able to save some money because you've made some overtime money, but you've had to spend it when your hours keep getting reduced just so you can maintain your bills and maintain a minimum life. Got to the point where all that was gone, and I applied for EI. It was going to take weeks, and I needed something to hold me over, so I went and applied for Ontario Works. I had to answer so many probing questions. I have filled out the forms for top secret clearance. They ask less probing questions. Ontario Works demeans you and beats you down. I could not believe the probing questions they were asking me. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Again, RCMP top secret clearance, ask me less questions. Now, the people who were working there were very nice. I went in to talk to them, and, they said, okay, we can give you some, I said, no, I don't need it. They go, why'd you show up? I said, well, I had an appointment. I'm going to keep my appointment. I don't need it. I just got a job. I start in 2 weeks. They go, do you need, I said, no, I've got enough to hold me over until then. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to make my rent, but I'm going to be able to do everything. I'm fine. I don't need the money. But I could not get over the amount of questions you have to answer for $753 or $740 or what. It's not even enough to pay the rent.
No, ODSPs, they break their rent and the necessities, basic necessities, down into two. And I think one is like 583 or something for rent, and then basic necessities is like 400. It's not much more. It's not. It's not. And just like the fact that the rent is still $600 and basic necessities is like 840 something, I think, maybe 900 now. I don't understand how someone looks at rent as 500 something and goes, yes, this is appropriate.
Maybe it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah, it was. No, like I don't even think my neighbors on rent control still have that. And like I've known people who've been here at my apartment for 20 years, and theirs is high.
Well, I'm in a rent-controlled building because it was built, in 1959. But again, you look at it, you want to move into this building today. Now, I'm going to show you this graphic again for a minute because I need to highlight something here that's very important. So you see this floor plan, okay? 425 square feet for a one-bedroom. This used to be a bachelor. That bedroom, this wall, this section right here didn't exist. I lived in a one-bedroom. I lived in a bachelor, I should say, back in 2003 in this building. Then I moved out, and then I moved back in a couple of years later. So I'm in a one-bedroom now, but a one-bedroom now that I live in is 650 square feet. So you're paying almost $2,000 for 425 square feet.
No.
20 years ago when I moved in here, I think I was paying $600. Almost $2,000 for 425 square feet.
I don't know how you pay. Was it $5 a foot? That's prime real estate in a lot of places.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Do we have a show?
I believe we do, sir.
We do.
All right, kids.
Thanks for
a pleasure. Thank you so much. Oh, it's always a joy to have you. Always a joy. Love you guys.
I love the way you lie.
I don't know where Miss Lowe
Don't make me sing. Don't make me sing.
Oh, don't make me sing.
Don't make me sing.
Remember that? That was the Kristen Wiig character from SNL. Don't make me sing.
You keep doing that, we're gonna have to extend.
I love that song. I love that song. Couldn't believe they got away with it too. Great song. Oh man. Okay, kids and cubs. That's the end. I'm gonna have to go listen to that after the show. Actually, that fires me up too. Oh, that's a bad choice of words. Okay. Kids and cubs. That's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Here, thank you so much to our guest, Super Kyle, for coming to have a little Ontario election special discussion with us with regard to accessibility and cost of living and all the other things, the ODA and everything else that's there with regard to the subject. We care a lot about it. We try to bring attention to it regularly. And like we mentioned before on the show, Kits, 3 of the 4 political parties in Ontario are supporting this move to increase ODSP supports. One party is not. The Greens have been on this bandwagon for a long time, the NDP longest, the Liberals in terms of with the current leader, Bonnie Crombie, the most recent, but she seems to have given a full-throated endorsement of it and plans to make it a permanent thing. That was written in the party release. I'm not sure if that was the Liberal Party's policy for at any time in the last X number of years since Doug Ford came along, but it is now there. So things for you to know about was we always encourage you, kids and cubs, don't only vote for just yourself, but vote for broader than yourself. And please know, as Mr. Grizzly often points out, and I try to point out too, when you keep the issues of accessibility in mind and supports for that, we often think, oh, well, it doesn't affect me. Yeah, that might be the case. But remember, all of us are within a couple of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
One bad luck, one person not being attentive behind a wheel, a workplace incident, playing sports, a fall gone wrong, no matter what, we are all just a couple of seconds away from needing these supports. And this is at any time in our life that could happen. That's why they're called accidents.
Absolutely true.
They can happen. So you might think you're not voting for yourself, but you are. Be selfish. Ask yourself, if something happens to me this afternoon, what would I like there to be there for me? And then vote for that. This one's not hard. This one's not hard.
Yeah.
Right? We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. And you have the mouths from which we want the word to come. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Now, if you would like to support us by, for example, downloading the ears-only version of our show and taking it along with you if you happen to listen to it while you're on the go, well, you can do that thanks to the Ray Girl who has sponsored our pod page. That's pod page, not cage, totally different site. Don't go there. Podpage.com/ the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters, and a hyphen between each one of those words, or you can scan that QR code. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, zip, it takes the slip and slide right to you. You don't even have to go looking for it, right there, because we like to help. Now, if you would like to help us in some other ways, then you need to make like Kit Lane and surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and click our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Just give them a little tickle. It makes us happy, and it helps us with the algorithm. So thank you so much for that. And if you'd like to help us in yet another way, let's say financially, for example, because we do incur some costs to bring the show to you, hopefully a show that you love and appreciate, and maybe you would like to encourage us to do more. Well, if you would like to do that, then we have a little tip jar that, if you drop something into it, it goes into the emergency hydration fund, and, it keeps me stored in hot chocolate, which helps me write the show and then bring it to you. See how it works? It's a nice little cycle. So if you want to say add a beaver and buy me a hot chocolate, or add a grizzly and get him a nice cup of coffee to get through the rest of the day, we would really appreciate that. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/Eager Beaver, all in one word. Or Scotch, hey? Some days you need one. But please, anything that you can donate is greatly appreciated. Your generosity really means the world to us. And if you are not able to donate, please do not worry in any way, shape, or form, because the gift of your participation and attention is the gift that matters the most to us. And we love to hear from you. TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is our email address. Write to us. Let us know what you think about the show. Good, bad, or ugly. If ugly, please be gentle. Okay. And also, if you want to buy Canadian, for example, and want to donate to us, TrueNorthEagerBeaver@gmail.com is also the way you do it. Goes through there, direct transfer. We get 100% of your donation, and you deal with a Canadian bank rather than going through PayPal if you do not want to support a tech bro. So just letting you make an advised choice as a consumer. There you go. Because democracy is something that you do. Quebec Liberal leadership race, we will get to it. I promise. There's just a lot going on, and the timeline is longer. But please check out your candidates. Make sure that you get your membership. Ontario election, 16 days to go. If you have been paying attention, there's a little bit of narrowing in the polls, according to Nanos. There's been like a 3% closing of the gap, with the Conservatives going down just a little bit over the last reporting period, but the Liberals gaining about 2.5%. So maybe there's some momentum with the Liberals crossing 30%. That is the second pollster. So it's still a 13% gap, but hey, maybe it's the sign of a trend. Who knows? But keep paying attention. And of course, Ontario Liberal leadership race, we haven't forgotten about it. It's still going on. For those of you who have registered, your candidates are trying to charm you into voting for them. So please pay attention to what they have to say. Words of wisdom, Mr. Grizzly.
Yeah. In the upcoming election, look, I often say I'll never tell you who to vote for, and I still won't. But I will tell you who not to vote for. And I know that it's always about selecting your local MPP. You do not vote for the premier. You vote for your MPP. But in this case, I'm suggesting, strongly recommending you do not vote for the Conservative candidate in your riding, because the premier, Doug Ford, does not have your best interest at heart. He simply doesn't.
He doesn't even want to let them debate.
No, he won't let any of them debate. And he's punching down on people who can't punch back. Is that the kind of person you want to run this province? I certainly don't want him. That's just so I won't tell you who to vote for, but anyone but Conservative is what I strongly recommend.
I just recommend don't vote for anybody who thinks they can get ahead by walking to a mic and calling other people lazy.
Well, that too.
That's lazy. Just saying. Kyle, do you have any words of wisdom?
I think you guys said it best. I'm just disheartened to see the number of people continuing again to use people in not in positions of power as their playthings.
Yeah, their props.
And you guys have already said vote for your futures, and your futures could involve being on ODSP.
It could very well. Yeah.
That's it. 2 years ago, I did not see myself on ODSP ever again. I didn't. It was just, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to, whatever. And then it happened. And now here I am again, back on ODSP and going to the food bank. And the food bank's so full of people. Many of them are... how do I not get canceled? Recent residents.
Okay.
It's just it sucks to see the cost of living is not changing. Galen Weston needs a slap in the face.
Yeah. Oh, agreed.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah, that's a whole other episode. All right. Kids, please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock and have a little bit of an Easter egg. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
So, do you have a Easter egg?
I do. I do. Little Easter egg, Canadians who make us proud.
Okay.
Our tennis players, once again, rocking it. Denis Shapovalov, who we talked about a little bit last year, because he had a bit of a couple of difficult seasons and had dropped down to 140th in the world, has won the biggest title of his career, the Dallas Open, which is a 500 level tournament on the ATP. A spectacular week in which he took out the world number 4, number 9, and number 5 on the way to win the title. His second title in 4 months, his third title of his career. Between his first and second title, it was 6 years between them. And now he's got 2 in 4 months. Climbed back up to top 32 in the world, which means he's going to be seeded at Grand Slams. Because the top 32 in the world get. So he's back, baby. He's back, baby. He had gotten
too, right?
Oh, yes. But he had gotten as high as number 10 in the world, like for about like a week or two. And then it just like started falling apart for him. So to get to 10, drop to 140, like this, go through the injuries, have the little bit of confidence issues that come as you try to get your game back. And then as you're so close and then just rip it. Like I'm like 2 titles in 4 months. He had 1 in 6 years.
Wow.
He is back. And he's playing excited tennis, and I am so happy for him because he has put in the work.
Clearly.
So a big congratulations to him. And a couple of thank yous to some kits. Thank you to Kit Wendy, who sent us a little something. Said, as always, gents, thanks for helping navigate us through trying times. Appreciate all your efforts. Great pod. Cheers. And Kit T. Wigmore. Awesome in all caps with 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points. Wow. Really appreciate your efforts and analytical and communication skills. Ignore the haters and trolls. Grow the show. Thank you so much, kids. And we'll have a couple more thank yous tomorrow because I see that there's a few more. So
cool.
Everyone, have a beautiful day.
I just wanted to share a cartoon quickly.
Yes.
It's Calvin and Hobbes walking through
I love this one.
And the Calvin is looking at Hobbes and he says, DEI initiatives were not put in place to ensure lower qualified minorities could get hired instead of more highly qualified white people. It was put in place to ensure lower qualified white people were not hired instead of more highly qualified minorities. That is what DEI is. That is what the President of the United States just put an end to. I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm not sure everyone's going to follow.
Yeah, and that's fine. We'll jump into it a little bit more in the future.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Have a beaverific day.
See ya.